All right, we are wrapping up the Breakage series today, right now, in this clip. Hey, it is your girl, Genuine Nard. I am back with the last number 6 in this series on hair breakage. And look, this one is a Lulu like the other ones. So we talked about 6 causes, the most common causes of hair breakage, and what you can do about it. Everybody says stop the breakage, you'll see the growth, but how do you stop the breakage? Why is your hair breaking? It is not as random as it seems. So the first on this series was hard water. The second one was heat. How hot is too hot? The third one was friction. The next one is tension. We did a little private clip for the subscribers there on how to do great protective styles without tension or friction. And then the next one was pH imbalance. And this is the last one. So let's watch the clip and then we'll talk about it.
Of all the causes of breakage, identifying and treating these next 2, possibly 3, are the most difficult. I'm putting 3 causes of breakage together because if they're out of balance, your hair is going to let you know. Now, you really have to know your hair to see it, and you have to show consistent hair love to correct it. This is about moisture overload, hygrofatigue, and or protein overload. Your hair needs both protein and moisture to be healthy. That is accurate. But too much of either will throw your hair out of balance, causing it to break. Your hair's porosity has so much to do with your hair's needs. Moisture overload tends to happen with high porosity hair. This is because an open cuticle can absorb too much water very easily. Now, is there a difference between hygrofatigue and moisture overload? Yes. Hygrofatigue is damage to your hair's follicles caused by swelling from excessive moisture. Moisture overload is when your hair's cuticle and cortex has too much moisture. So moisture overload can contribute to hygrofatigue, which is a much more serious problem. However, the treatment for both of these is almost identical. Low porosity hair tends to have protein overload because it doesn't absorb water well because of the tightly closed cuticle. Protein treatments and other treatments tend to build up on the cuticle, causing it to have an adverse effect. Now, how do you know if you have too much moisture or too much protein causing an overload? Test your hair's elasticity. Healthy hair should stretch and bounce back without breaking, like a rubber band. Every time you wash your hair, check your hair's porosity and elasticity. Symptoms that you're suffering from moisture overload is your hair stretches way too much, then it breaks. Your curls are heavy, undefined. Your hair feels mushy when it's wet. It is limp. It loses its bounce. Your hair becomes weaker and frizzy. Symptoms of protein overload are your hair doesn't stretch at all before it snaps. It has bigger tangles and a lot more knots. The texture is rough and stiff even when it's wet. There are flyaways. It loses its shine and luster, and the hair becomes weak and frizzy. This looks different on different hair textures, and every head of hair doesn't show every symptom. Knowing your hair very well is important, and journaling about your hair is going to help you identify changes very quickly. Now, these may seem like very opposites, but they both weaken your hair and cause it to become frizzy. And with both, you have to watch what you're putting on your hair. Humectants like glycerin, aloe, and honey, or fatty alcohols can cause moisture overload. Washing your hair too often can cause hydration issues if you have high porosity hair. And while I mist my hair every day, I also use rice water because My tricked out rice water is balanced with a ton of protein. Also, greenhousing your hair too often can overhydrate your hair. If you're protein sensitive, you have to read the labels very closely. Black hair care products tend to lean very heavily on proteins. Most keratin, biotin, and collagen molecules are large. Now, this isn't a problem if you have damaged, porous hair, but they can't penetrate low porosity hair. Some companies make them smaller and water soluble. Look for the word hydrolyzed. It's still protein. Or they will use amino acids. These are protein builders, so you might still be sensitive. When your hair is out of balance, whether it's too much moisture or too much protein, the same treatments with different products will help level you out. I love a good pre-poo, and it's so important. I will no longer wash my hair without one. Now, if you have moisture overload, use a protein-packed pre-poo with coconut oil or hemp seed oil. This is a great one. These will strengthen your hair, and the oils will keep your hair from absorbing too much water. If you have a protein overload, a deeply moisturizing pre-poo, like this wonderful sweet potato pre-poo, will start to let product buildup on your cuticle and restore your moisture balance. The next treatment is steaming. Steam gently opens the cuticle. So this is great if you're low porosity. It'll help hydrating products to penetrate the strands and improve the overall moisture balance. And if you're experiencing moisture overload, steaming a heavy protein treatment will help restore and strengthen your hair. Greenhousing your hair at night a few times a week is a great way to let steam work for you. The last treatment is clarifying. Now, there are several clarifying clays that work wonders, but this one is a mix of bentonite healing clay and filtered water. A good clarifier is a great way to restore hair that's experiencing moisture overload or high wool fatigue, and great way to reduce buildup on protein-sensitive hair. Once a month, I use a clay clarifier on my hair. You might have to do this more than once a month until your hair is in balance. This clarifier removes product buildup and some toxins and some impurities. It's a much deeper clean than shampoo alone, but it's much gentler than a chemical clarifying shampoo. It gives my hair a balanced reset, and I use it as a face mask too. I hope you can see that the main difference between these two treatments is what products you're using and how often you're using them. Get to know your hair and its needs. Now I alternate. Every other week, I use either a deep conditioner treatment or a deep protein treatment. What are some of the other things that you can do? Schedule your wash days. Remember, consistent care beats random amazing care. Journal about your hair. You'll notice changes in your porosity and elasticity quickly, and you can fix them before breakage has a chance to start. And lastly, be patient. If you're struggling with this issue, it's going to take some time. You did not get your hair out of balance with one wash, and it's unlikely you'll get it completely corrected in one wash either. Once you know your hair is in balance, this issue is easy to control. Then, the only brakes you'll need will be on your car.
So I saved this one, moisture hydration imbalance, for last because honestly, this one is the hardest one to get under control. You know, if you stop with the hard water, immediately you'll see the effects. If you take the heat off your hair, it won't be long till you see those effects, right? If you stop pulling, if you don't have any tension or friction, that's immediate. But this one is insidious and it's going to require a commitment of a period of time and then consistent care. consistent care is the cure for this. So I strongly suggest that you get yourself a calendar, especially when you're first transitioning. And transitions take about 12 months. So don't think, oh, okay, I've been doing this for about 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever, and now I'm good. It takes about a year for your hair to transition from chemical processed to completely natural. And then after that, you're going to start seeing your natural growth gains, and then you start tweaking that, and you're going to even see more gains. But the protein, right, and the hydration has to be balanced because even if you're protein sensitive, you need protein. Your hair is made of protein. Your bodies are made of protein. So you do need protein. Now, how your body absorbs that protein is a little bit more difficult, and you're going to have to be creative. And protein is not easily absorbed. I didn't know this until recently. I talked to a doctor who had done a video on PBS, right? So I called and I just asked him a lot of questions about protein because he says limit your protein to one protein a day when you're eating protein because protein molecules are so large that they are difficult as we age for our bodies to break down, which stinks because we also lose protein faster as we age. So, do you need protein? You absolutely do. You are made of water and protein, so you need both, but you are going to need hydrolyzed protein in your diet and in your hair care if you are using protein at all. And then if you're protein sensitive, make sure you're opening up that cuticle every month and doing some type of protein treatment. Not as often as somebody who is high porosity in their hair is damaged, therefore protein is going to help it repair and rebuild, but still you need protein. So I know a lot of people are gonna, tell me in the comments that I'm inaccurate, but I'm telling you, it took months to research this. I've talked to a lot of people, so you can just skip it and, trust that the information I have is the best that's out there right now. And as I know better, I will come back and revise it. I don't mind being wrong. But I do know that protein is important. You can't just hydrate your hair. And I also know that hydration is important. You can't just put protein, protein, protein on your hair. And the more sensitive you are to either of those, you're going to have balance.
Before I forget, like, subscribe, and ring that bell. That way you can see all the videos in the series. And thank you.
Once you get your hair out of balance in this way, of all of the causes of breakage, this one takes the longest to get it back under control. So be patient with your hair. It took a second for it to get out of balance here. And get to know your hair. I will say, if you are a low porosity person, um, you're probably going to need less protein and more hydration. And steam is going to open up that cuticle and allow you to get a good absorption. And if you're a high porosity person, you're going to need that protein to help heal and correct some of the damage that has been done to your hair. 9 times out of 10, if you're high porosity, it is not something that is genetic, it is usually caused by damage. So, and if you're experiencing breakage of any type, you're going to need to stop and look at your protein, and your hydration. If you're having any type of breakage, protein and hydration, and check your pH, give yourself a good acid treatment. So that's pretty much it for the breakage series. And I want to apologize. I know it's been a second for me getting this out. A dear friend died, someone that I've known for years. I introduced him to his wife, who is also a friend I've known since I was 9 years old, and it was sudden and unexpected and extremely painful. And I knew that I needed to take a minute to deal with the loss of someone in my circle. I have never had anyone in my immediate circle of friends or cousins, or, they're usually older, and he was not. Um, and it made me want to stop and acknowledge the fact that so many people are grieving, and due to COVID, we are grieving alone, or even though we always grieve alone, but we're not grieving in the company of like-hearted mourners. And so, if you have lost someone you love, I know that's painful. And I want to say I'm very sorry for your loss. And I also want to tell you that if it is a close loss and it's acute, try to get into some type of grief counseling. I cannot stress this enough. When I lost my father, grief counseling helped me work through the stages of grief. It helped me really deal with the intense sense of loss and anger and frustration that grief can cause unexpectedly. You think you're dealing with things fine, and then a smell, or a song can reduce you to tears and make you dysfunctional. And so, if your loss is acute, you've been feeling less than yourself for a prolonged period of time, that's certainly part of the grieving process. So stop and go to some grief counseling. You can do a lot of that online, but it's certainly not a sign of weakness. It's just a sign that you understand your wellness mentally and physically is important. So that's that. And I also hope that you watch this entire series, right? Because it is a full series on the 6 most common causes of breakage, and 9 times out of 10, it is something that we are doing that we don't even realize we're doing that's causing our damage. So that is that. Okay, so if you haven't already subscribed, go on and subscribe to the tribe. Click that box and ring the bell so that you'll get access to all the other videos in this series. And that's it. If you have spent a little of your time with me today, I know you're busy. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope and wish you the most success in all of your endeavors in your life. All right. Have a good one.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this one. Tell me how it turned out for you in the comments. Click like, subscribe, and ring that bell for all the videos in this playlist, or just view these next 2. And thank you again for watching. Alright, that's it.